annexes. Can you hear us now?
I can see Jessica sees the chat.
Yes. Can you hear us now? Give us a thumbs up. Yes,
Yes, wonderful.
thank
Well,
you.
that's kind of like what's that? Because usually don't, when you do the recording, you don't use it. So,
Huh, okay,
so,
well, I'm glad that's sorted.
so that means that anything anybody said wasn't recorded.
Yeah,
Keith, hope you're taking good minutes.
yeah, your minute, yeah.
As you usually do.
Who
And-
pointed out the sound was working?
It looks like it was John. Right, I think. I can't tell.
That's right.
John's the only one. He's the only one tied in on
Okay,
the annex.
And there's 2 annexes.
yeah, I think one is Keith, right?
No, it's only this. So, no, the annex is us there. Oh, no, there's 2.
Yeah,
Right.
Somebody's logged in as,
Someone's logged in as annex.
yeah, they
That's-
use the email address.
Hmm.
So we did that.
no. Okay, so next on the agenda is the school conversation. Any update on that?
Yes, so the Conval School Board is hiring a group, a consultant. I think they haven't decided who yet, to look at restructuring the whole district. I think one thing that they've found is they need more resources for middle and high school. And there's a lot of elementary schools, and so how to create something that's more balanced, and they're wanting community input, from what I understand. And so they're wanting like official representatives that aren't the school board reps, like community members, to serve on this committee. So it sounds like they're still trying to feel out like exactly what that's going to look like. So I will keep people posted. And
Mhm. Okay. Housing forums is next on the agenda. And you haven't met with Bruce?
I emailed Bruce.
Okay.
And said, should we meet? And how can I help?
Okay.
And we haven't connected.
Okay, so at the last planning board meeting, I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Keith, I think he wants the first one to just focus on basic zoning regulations, like just
I think you wanted to do zoning 101.
you call it, yeah, zoning 101.
What is zoning today? What is in the zoning at the moment? Because once you've actually discussed all the zoning rules at the moment, I think it's plenty of them to highlight the difficulties we've had when we started to talk about ADUs, DADUs, is that we're inheriting shortcomings of the current zoning, that there's a global review that needs to be done, and that's why we're looking at the grant to resolve that.
Mhm.
But I think his idea of looking at it from a zoning 101 viewpoint is a good idea. So at least people understand where we're coming from.
Yeah,
Because some people don't understand that, short-term rentals currently, they're not allowed because it's not in there. And also the ADUs are allowed at the moment. And again, some people.
yeah, there were people that didn't know that.
Didn't know that.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good place to start.
Yeah, and then I think a couple things will come out of that first forum that will help decide what the future topics might be. But I also have heard that there's some feedback about the Charrette, wanting to talk about that, and also the survey that we did in 2020, the planning board survey that went out. And there was a lot of data collected in that, and some people indicated they wanted more information on certain topics that we asked about. So I think both of those things will inform future topics. And he talked about having maybe one a month. So I think we would want to do it on a planning board night, which is first and third Tuesdays.
Yeah.
So I don't know, just to think about more broadly.
I think particularly the 2020 survey, because when you look back at it, I'd forgotten how much people had actually made comments about what they did really want to have further information on.
Mhm.
And in answer, many of the questions that came up last meeting.
Right,
People, some people said that, nothing's been done. Well, it was, it goes, it's only a few years back, 2020.
yeah, but then COVID hit.
The Charrette actually responded to a lot of those questions.
Right, right.
And so I think people have forgotten the reason for Charrette was partly because of what was discovered.
Was that the rural character one?
We asked a lot about missing middle housing, the agrihood.
Yeah.
Was a popular thing, walkable communities, just some basic demographic questions like, do you work at home? Do you commute somewhere for work? Do you have animals? Like, do you have a garden? There was just
Okay,
some
that's
lifestyle questions.
It did prompt people with some good sort of responses, which I was surprised at.
Yeah.
Most
Yeah.
pages like never get as many responses.
I think we had like 175 somewhere around there, which wasn't bad.
Good.
Yeah,
I think it was like that, a little bit less than 10%.
it was like 620 or something like that, mailers, mailing addresses when we send out mailers.
Yeah, it looked like 25 to.
Yeah, it was a decent,
Yeah,
decent response. Yeah,
I
but
remember it. was a good
the I guess criticism was that we did this survey, we gathered all this data, and then nothing happened. There was a big gap between that and the charrette. So people,
The
you
dots
know,
weren't
the
connected.
dots weren't connected. Yeah, and we did try to do the charrette in 2021, but because of COVID, we weren't able to. So that was part of the reason. And also just, volunteer capacity. Broadband was going on and these other projects that we did. So I don't want to make excuses because I think it was a valid point that was raised.
I mean, one excuse, it stopped an enormous amount of things for 2 years.
Yeah. I mean, the survey was fall of 2020, so people were home
Yeah,
during that time. But yeah, there was no charrettes happening at that time. So there was a disconnect. And a long delay between, but that seemed like a good place to start when thinking about questions, because we know that people have questions on some of those topics. So I would just share that, and
what
can
the dates suggest? I think he came up with a couple of dates. Can you remember?
I don't know. Well, he said April, May, and June.
Didn't
Yeah, and then we'd probably not do anything in the summer because people travel and stuff, and then regroup. But it does tie into the grant that Keith mentioned earlier, and I think I sent out the grant application to this committee. Because there are going to be housing forums. Keith and I are both on the community engagement training program. They've only had 2 so far. I missed the second one.
I don't think
But if there's a recording, I think another one is next week, the third one. Yeah, I can check my calendar, but I think it's an in-person, and I think it's on a Tuesday up in Concord. I guess I would just put that out. I know you volunteered to help with the housing forums, and then with the grant coming up, there's going to be a lot of community engagement involved, and a lot of that informs master plan updates. So there's going to be some overlap. So I would just put that out there to just keep it on everyone's radar. Like, we may be leaned on a bit, or I may lean on you a bit.
Well, it's the vision statement, it's the master plan, it's the kind of zoning.
Yeah. We haven't applied for the 3rd phase of the grant yet. And we have, I think, until November.
That was the main thing, was vision statement.
It's master plan updates and a regulatory review. And the 3rd piece is they would help us write revisions to the regulations, but the voters still have to approve.
Yes, but that would be in 2020.
Yes,
Well,
yeah,
prepared for 2020.
right. And I don't know that we'd want to do like a whole slew all at once, it would just be overwhelming. So we might pick some areas to focus on, and again, based on the community input and how things go throughout the year with that part of it, and updating the master plan, because zoning regulations shouldn't be presented if they're not supported by the master plan and which has to be supported by the community. So I don't know if anybody had a chance to read that application. Was there any questions or any anything that didn't make sense? I mean, a lot of it, I guess I kind of took some of the charrette,
Yes.
stuff to start with. And then we had started an application for a municipal technical assistance grant last year just for the regulatory review. That program ended up being discontinued because this one replaced it. So any questions about it or any concerns?
No, I'm glad that we're pushing to do it, because again, there was some indication of why are we doing it, and it's because it keeps getting delayed.
Yeah,
If we don't draw a line in the sand, we will never get done. And I think as we've got the budget to do it,
mhm. Well, right, because it's a grant, so
Right.
yeah, and it's a significant amount of money too, so it's what we otherwise would have been paying. So-
it's just unfortunately we can't get Southwest because that was the preference.
Yeah, I did reach out to them again this week and asked for an update, but I haven't heard back
I
yet.
think the two ladies, with
Carol and Ivy.
Carol and I,
Mhm.
they seem to be well qualified.
Oh, for sure.
for this.
Mhm.
And I think bias from one or two people should never weigh the benefits they brought to other towns.
Mhm.
The history.
Yeah, and they're getting requests from other towns
Yeah.
for work too now, so.
They, I'm sorry, did they provide their qualifications and certificates and all of that?
They had to go through a process with the state to be selected to be qualified consultants, so they did the vetting.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
so there's a list you have to get approved.
and they want to send some information on because I think Molly wanted to review that. 'Cause
Some of their previous work.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to read through that before he gave to put it to a vote at the next plan. So.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, great, thanks.
Yeah. Sure.
First paragraph. Says we seek to determine the best path for basic community support for regulatory changes that reflect residents' desires and develop best practices.
Mhm.
What are best practices?
Smart growth, that kind of stuff, like what makes the most sense for a community that doesn't have town sewer and town water. So how do you address impact to the water supply or the environment, those kinds of things.
Because I think there's certain terminology that's used
Mhm.
in those words. And I think that should come up to explain that type of thing on what it is for the layman type of thing.
Sure.
So you're accommodating based on what you want to do compared to what you're allowed to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
And restrictions.
Right, without, yeah, with little or minimal impact.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's the point.
Other than that was great.
so that'll be coming up. And like I said, just to remind everyone, I know Lily, it's fairly new to the committee, but I think you were probably coming to some of the forums the planning board had in 2019, but
Mhm.
this committee was formed to address issues related to housing, because the school, was
Mhm.
threatening to be closed. So that's kind of where we came from originally. So it seems like a good fit for us to be in a supportive role around the forums,
And we try heavily to be supportive
rather than the drivers.
Oh, right.
Because see, people might think there's an agenda.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Some trying to stay really
It's
away from.
tricky
Yes.
balance.
It's a tricky balance.
It is a-
Yeah.
Very tricky balance, because it is such an important thing to have the support that actually initiates action without being the leader of band.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a little tricky for me, is for sure.
So tricky.
Yeah. So if anybody else wants to chair this committee, but feel
You do
free
fine.
to volunteer. I mean, the election's coming up, so maybe I'll only have this committee after March. We'll see. But I still, as you know, this is an important topic for me personally, so I would like to support however it looks going forward.
Well, we did make progress.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Yep.
that's true, actually.
And that helps.
Mhm. Yep.
We know we don't have to be facing being next out.
Right. Okay, so other things that are on the agenda, the annual report. So while I was away, no surprise to me, I got an email saying that my annual report draft was too long. I'm guilty of doing that, I'm sure. So Jessica made some revisions in my absence, and I don't know if anybody wants to see the revised copy. You can just take. Yeah.
Is it one page?
It's 2 pages. Yeah, thank you to Jessica. I'll just pass.
No, I think we all looking for the marketing view.
Yes. Getting, yeah,
This is the revised.
this is the revised, yeah.
Was it 4 pages?
It was 3 and, yeah, it was too long. I knew it was too long, like I said, I just. So thank you, Jessica.
I think we're fantastic.
Yeah.
You did a lot.
Other board and committee news. Do you want to share anything about the rec committee, what they're working on?
By the way, it's booked for 2022.
I know, I noticed that, yeah, at the header was like that too. Sorry,
Well, one of the newest things about is that I responded to, I actually went to or and viewed a webinar from the municipal
oh, great.
and it led me to the information of these on-demand workshops. And so we went forward to having an on-demand workshop. And it educated us very immediately about our financial, mostly with focus on the revolving fund that we have. But that was just so necessary. Especially with new people on the committee and we're in the process of, at least I've initiated letting them know that, and this is on our agenda for next week, is to have a committee, a subcommittee kind of, however you want to call it, come up with a financial practices manual or.
Oh, that's great.
And that-
Procedural, like a procedural. So I don't know how that's gonna go, and I would beg anybody that has, knowledge and expertise and, even coming up with an outline and all that stuff, and I mean, I know what needs to be included, but, and we're still in the process of figuring some things out. It was
Were those online? Was it like a webinar?
the gal, we could have chosen to have something online or have it in person, and we chose in person, which cost money, but it's okay. I was able to have Gary Scholl from the BAC was here, and Peter Allen was here,
Oh, great.
and
Virtual and
Peter Allen.
and oh boy, powerfully informative. So I'm not too sure. The only thing I was going to mention here is that I don't know what other subjects there are for on-demand workshops. The gal who came here was just.
Oh, Catherine. Yeah.
And so it was so necessary, and I had a follow-up conversation with her on Monday. With a call log, probably at least an hour. And so she's amazing.
Yeah, great.
So I don't know what other subjects there are, but just to put it out there that was hugely informative and wonderful.
Great. Do you guys have events coming up? Anything you wanna?
The usual, and we're trying to expand a little bit. Yep, there's definitely been some activity.
There's always
So
finding volunteers, right?
Yeah, just having more members on the committee. There's another person that wants to possibly join on that I hope will be at the meeting on Thursday. There's actually 2 other people very interested.
Great, great.
So that's a really good thing. This is not our committee related, but I wanted to make mention of something, and if you'd like to put it on the next agenda.
Okay,
Linda Volunteer was in touch with me, mostly to get the word out to Rob, who is the head of the renewable energy committee, about whether they were going to help with the Good Roads Day and the facilities. He's going to
good road day.
So he is going to, I think he's put it on the agenda for their meeting next week, just to formally, say, but their resources as far as manpower is very limited, so that's why that branched out.
Yeah, we helped out with that last year. Yeah.
So, I know it seems like it, like premature, I don't know. But
It's April usually, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I can't remember the exact date, but if we can put it on for the next meeting. Just by then, we will know that the Renewable Energy Committee maybe is truly absolutely not going to be doing that.
Okay,
And she has some, a couple of young people to be in touch with. And also from community service from the schools.
is she just looking for help with I think we sorted recycling
Yeah.
last year, right? Okay,
So that's,
same thing.
yeah,
Okay.
that's the thing. So, yep. So just to know.
We did it last year, but I did it with Bill and Keith, you were there too, right?
The date.
It's usually around Earth Day. Mhm. Got tax day on there, but I don't have Earth Day.
And Tuesday around the 15th,
Calendar
17th.
Says April, it should be in the calendar.
There's
Oh,
5 Saturdays.
29th.
Oh, the 29th.
Okay, 29th of April.
Okay, Earth Day is the 22nd.
Yep.
Okay, so it's the week after.
I would say there's probably
That's-
really good reason why Linda was chosen.
I'm sure there is. I will say though, that is my anniversary weekend and I'm usually away that weekend, but
You
It's
can have
awesome.
vacations for this year.
yeah, right. Oh, yeah, there's usually, yeah, it's gotta be, yeah.
Anyway,
Okay, well, I'll put it on the agenda for the next meeting.
okay.
Did we have anything else they want to talk about? I'm good. Okay,
You also sent something out for. No, you sent information out on Charrette.
yeah, and the grant.
No, that's about
Motion to adjourn. Second,
I said.
all right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank
So-
you.
So who motioned?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bill made the motion, Lillian seconded. You've got the Zoom there, Keith? To end the Zoom meeting?
What we'll do is I'll check the context of why that said, no, right on.
Yeah,
He said, connect the sound and video. Video came up, but sound didn't work.
yeah.
So I don't know how to.